This is me talking. There we go. Can you hear me, Abram? Oh my goodness. Let me do this so I can at least see you. Okay. I'm guessing you can hear me? Oh, good. Now I'm getting the talk back again. Let me figure out what's happening here. Are you hearing me twice, Abram? Or just once? Okay. So let me figure out. I'm not seeing any motion on your... No, not video. I'm not on the audio. I'm not seeing any lines move for you.
How about now?
Hey, now I can hear you.
Oh, you know what? It defaulted to the microphone for this, which doesn't exist. So that's fine.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
I have to figure out why I'm hearing talkback in my head, or I'm
Okay.
gonna lose my mind tonight.
There are medications for that.
No. I'm gonna lose it. Nothing should be making this happen. All right, well, anyway, while this is happening... Yeah, hi, Alante. Laugh at us. It's real funny while I'm hearing myself come back. So, what are we talking about tonight?
Okay, so since you didn't mention it as a one of this week's topics, and there's new information about it,
Yeah, I saw that.
I would like to talk about Kaspersky.
I don't know how to make this stop.
Do you think that's good?
Oh my god.
Super delayed.
Oh, I just heard you say again, do I think that's good? Yes, I think that's great.
Well.
Oh, I know why. I know why. I know why. Oh, I forgot I had a tab open in the background with YouTube, which explains the incredible delay. It is gone. I won't be losing my mind. All right. Much better. There was literally a 60-second delay in my head, Abram, of what was happening. So we'd be talking, and then all of a sudden, whoop, there's me and you again from a minute ago. What are we talking about? I don't know anymore. Anyway, okay, yeah, I think that's great. I think it's a fantastic topic, and I 100% agree with your take on it.
Great. Great.
Doesn't make for any fun fights or anything,
I know.
but
It was either that or this, and I haven't done enough with this yet to make a great talk about it. My son and Isaac and I have done a bunch of stuff to do an article on how to install Minecraft on this, but
okay.
That's a little niche for what we want to talk about. And since you did not put Kaspersky on our topic list, I thought it would be cool to talk about.
I think it's a great topic. It was one that I wanted to do, and then I saw after I finished writing everything, I'm like, oh,
right. It was a last week topic, but now the FCC just came out, with their own ban, so it's ongoing.
I saw an article from one of your sister sites.
Yes. Yes, we don't cover it extensively, so we actually didn't. I don't think we put up a story about the FCC ban on Tom. I'm sorry, we put one up about the German ban. We probably should have put the FCC ban too, but anyway. So
I saw it come from TG.
That's good. Yes, and we won't mention that they are still recommending.
You're live. You're live.
That's not my site,
True.
I'm just, and it's definitely public information, as you can see.
It's still funny for me to shout over top of you.
Yes. Anyway, so all right, it's but that's something I will mention actually in our talk.
Okay.
When I say I won't mention, I actually will mention it because I think there's some controversy, and that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what makes it an interesting topic, because there's different ways of looking at it. I imagine you saw the other four since you knew what was.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Excellent.
I was trying to look through the YouTube while I was at my sister-in-law's house for dinner tonight, which is where I was. I was trying to look through and see like what YouTube movies I would recommend for the free YouTube, but I couldn't find like a good link to see them all.
So depending on where you are, and I should have put the link directly to it, shouldn't I? Thanks for pointing that out. That's on me. There should have been a link in the article. So if you go to YouTube and then on the left, if you scroll down to movies and shows under YouTube Premium, then there's a category for free to watch movies, free to watch shows.
Oh, I see. Free to watch movies. Okay, I got it. And then you can click through and see the whole thing. All right, cool.
So the Sandlot's
it's not super obvious.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah. I'll update the article after the show. Yeah. It's a good point.
I would definitely give my 2 cents on what the what movies on here, if any, are worth watching.
Little Shop of Horrors.
Some of these I have not heard of.
There's a lot of them.
I have not heard. I have not heard of. These really seem like some. Anyway, I'll save the commentary for the show.
Come on, Pauly Shore in the army. Oh, I couldn't even say it. Oh, in the army now.
This really feels like the bin at Walmart where you find DVDs for $3.
Yeah. Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Every now and again there's a gem in there.
Yeah.
There's
the occasional mistake.
Jet Li Hero in here.
Yeah, see, there's the occasional mistake. But generally it's taken from me, the Tiffany Rubin story, and the Robin Williams Popeye movie.
Oh, man, I remember that. Oh, wait a second. All right. The more I go down this, the more I can identify one or two that I can recommend to people. All right. I'm ready when you are.
Fortnite, Battle, Build, Survive. Come on. 56 and a half minutes of whatever that could possibly be. All right. All right. Here we go. This week, Apple wants to rent you a phone, Netflix wants to give you more games, and YouTube is giving you free movies. It's Sunday, March 27th, 2022, and this is episode 620 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat, through a podcatcher like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, TuneIn, or a myriad of other options, through our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Twitch, or YouTube, where you can join the community and get ad-free versions of F5 Live and The Pilch Point, or on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. The first is Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us. There you can chat with us in the studio. Give us your feedback on the topics as we talk about them. If you're not able to join us live, that is okay as well. You can always go to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, Pilch Point, and a whole lot more. And of course, find all the ways to watch, listen, and follow along. We are back. Abram, we took, last week we had to take off because, our cast and crew were not feeling well here in the studio. I had a headache that wouldn't quit, and Alante could not fill in for the exact same reason. But we're all sitting upright this week, which is a huge move past the terrible place we were in. So it's good to be back. How was your week off last week? Hopefully better than ours.
Yeah, not bad. You know, my son working on projects with my son a little bit. We borrowed from work one of these an Oculus Quest 2, now known as a Meta Quest 2, I should say, headset, and have been working on the various ways that you can install Minecraft on this, because that is all he actually cares about in the world of VR. But what I have discovered is that there is one VR headset worth owning, and this is it, because everything else is expensive or kind of useless. But the Quest 2, and it seems that is really borne out by, like, if you read online, like what people are actually buying, unless you're a business buying it for like business use or something like that, or you just want like this cutting edge, really expensive $1,000 equipment. It seems that this is the headset of the moment right now. Now, who knows what'll happen? If Meta will come out with something better, but we have not heard any rumors about an update to this. So
possibly to go along with the release next year of Quest for Business to replace Oculus for Business. You might see new hardware, but it's not required. It's going to work on the Quest 1 and 2, so
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. There's things to hack on it, which I always love. We figured out there's like a whole side loading community and the best
side quest
way to play Minecraft. Yes, that's exactly what we did. You will see an article. I can't really demo this, so I didn't want to talk about it too much on the show. But you will see an article on Tom's Hardware this week about all the many different ways to play Minecraft on your Oculus Quest 2. And side quest is how you load stuff on the side. And then there's a one called Questcraft. There's an app called Questcraft, which is an unofficial port of Minecraft to the Quest 2. So anyway, it's interesting to see that there's sort of is VR out there for people. It's just not at the scale of like game recognition, as we've talked about. There's not like a lot of games that people are like, oh, I gotta play this.
Right.
But nevertheless, there's a reasonably affordable, usable system out there, and this is it.
Yeah, interestingly, I've also spent the last couple of weeks with a Quest 2, mostly strapped to my face. It is likely where the headache last week came from, is my guess. Not because of the hardware, but because of the project itself. But so it's interesting that we both kind of fell into the same hardware at the same time. I can see mine from here.
Yeah, it's. I mean, my son wants to get one for his birthday, which is coming up, and
Sure.
so he will probably end up getting one. And his cousin, who's like a couple years older, has one. Which, by the way, he's too young to supposedly use it, but nevertheless, lots of kids are getting them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will leave it at that. We may talk about this more on a future show when I have more interesting stuff to say about it.
Sounds like a plan. I look forward to it. But this week, because we were off, we've got a lot to catch up on. Before we do, I want to say, if you're watching live, this isn't going to work just yet, but at about midnight tonight, it will. If you go to PLUGHITZlive.com/audience, we're doing a quick audience survey. We want to get to know you a little better. What you like, what you don't, what we might need to change. And we are giving away 2 CES prize packs. We've got bags and shirts and a whole bunch more. It takes about 60 seconds to fill out the audience survey. It's real quick. About 10 questions, I think, is what it was. Real quick to do. And 2 people are going to get a CES prize pack. So how can you go wrong for 60 seconds? Definitely check it out. I guess with that, though, let's get down to the news. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is probably powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, desperately seeking an Xbox Series X, games, and a whole lot more, you can get them at the Microsoft Store. And remember that current students, faculty, parents, and active military can save up to 10% on almost everything. To browse the products, to learn more about that discount, to see what's on sale, you can go to f5live.tv/Microsoft. Interesting rumors going around right now about what's happening over at Apple. We know that the company has leaned in pretty hard to subscriptions over the last year or so. We saw the Apple One subscription come up to be the one ring to rule them all that includes a bunch of their services. They've also got things like Apple Arcade and iCloud and Apple TV Plus and Apple News Plus and a whole bunch more. The next generation of that looks like it might be a subscription service for your phone, computer, and tablet. Likely starting with the iPhone because there's already a type of this in the wild where you can, the iPhone Forever plan. It looks like Apple wants to expand that and not exactly have it be a lease, but maybe have it be just, I don't know. I don't know what they're looking to accomplish here, Avram, especially in a world where subscription fatigue is already real and you can already do this with a phone through your carrier.
Right. I mean,
I don't know what they're up to.
Carriers have. I don't know if it still exists. I meant to go check and see, but didn't Sprint or somebody have a new iPhone every year plan?
Mm-hmm. The
I
iPhone
don't know.
Forever.
Do those plans still exist?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you get the best iPhone when you get those, or are you getting the?
It depends on the level that you choose, and at the end of the year. So you could do it the day before the next generation comes out, and that's your new timetable. So you'll always be one day short of the newest. But after your 12 months is up, you get the choice to give it back, pay it off on the spot, keep paying it off, and then add the new device. So from there, in my experience, you could choose whatever level every time, every year, no matter what you did.
Is Sprint the only one to do that?
Even Apple does it.
Right. So,
but they don't do it for computers. They don't do it for tablets. Okay. I don't think they do it for the watches, though Sprint does, or T-Mobile maybe still does. But it sounds a lot like taking the carrier lease program and applying it to essentially computers and tablets and other Apple-y things. But I don't know because they haven't announced it exactly, right? It's secret rumor, right? But it sounds like they want to take that concept and apply it to other devices. But I don't know. We don't know what the rules are going to be, right? Are they going to let you buy it at the end, or are you going to be stuck replacing? Are you going to keep the newest thing, or at the end of it, do you just keep your hardware? Is this the Xbox thing, or is this something else, right? Because you can do that with Xbox, where you get the hardware, you get the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, you get a bunch of things, which is what it sounds like they're doing here. In reality, it sounds like they want to take the idea of the iPhone Forever plan and add to it things like Apple One and Apple Care. That's my read.
And
That's
also
my take on it.
get the money that the carrier instead of the carrier getting it.
Yep.
I mean, I think it has more credibility probably coming from Apple, although it's not going to be part of your I don't think it would be part of your carrier billing, so that's another.
It
So
might go to
it's-
your Apple account.
Yeah, I mean,
Pay it off on your Apple card. Oh,
I mean, I think the thing is, obviously, you can see why Apple would want to do this.
mm-hmm.
For phones, it doesn't. I guess it really depends on how desperate you are to get a new phone every year. It seems to
Sure.
me that the level of innovation in phones and the need for new phones is less now than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
For sure.
you and I have been doing this long enough that we remember when it was like, oh, next year you can get a 4G phone. Now,
Next year you're gonna get a 3G phone.
yeah,
Sorry, that was an iPhone 1 joke.
yeah, now it's like, most current phones, although maybe you want to get one that supports millimeter wave, do 5G. And so, what do you need? Do you need a new one next year?
Right.
People are holding onto their phones longer. This is obviously a problem for the phone business because they want you to,
Right.
because they want you to part with it sooner, and get a new one. It's
So if they can do it as recurring revenue, so you forget that you're always paying for it. Oh, but you get a new phone when the new phones come out. Okay.
Yeah. Plus, you're not hit with one giant bill at once, so it doesn't seem as bad.
Right.
Now,
though you may pay that bill for the rest of your life.
Yes. If you were to think about it, right? If you were to think about it more, but I guess it depends on how long you would own your phone.
Right.
I mean, I think a lot of people hold on to their phones now longer than 2 years. Now, I had my last phone before the one I have. I held on to it for like 3 years, and by the time, and it didn't really break, except for the charging port was getting messed up to where it wouldn't, like, if you blew on it wrong, it would stop charging. But but they don't make these things obviously easy to repair. I mean, you could say that there's environmental concerns here because there's an incredible amount of e-waste being generated by constant upgrade cycle.
Right.
Something which, by the way, we discussed on the Tom's Hardware show this week with no less than the folks from Lenovo, who, the guy who's like the head product manager for ThinkPad, who was talking about how they're looking at sustainability when they're building things and how they're getting to recycle e-waste and things like that. But I digress. So I can see why Apple would want you to do this. Obviously, new phones do get better every year, but still, it's, for a lot of people, they would want to hold on to the phone for 2, 3+ years. On top of that, we have now, if you were to take that model and apply it to computers, to MacBooks, let's say, it actually makes maybe a little more sense in the MacBook world, because if you are paying it a little bit at a time, it doesn't seem as bad. And
True.
Macs are painfully expensive,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, you want your MacBook Pro that costs $2,500, like that that is painful. So, like, I don't know. Do they come up with a plan where you're spending, like, I don't know, $200 a month for your Mac or something like that,
Right.
and you have it on a 2 year on a lease, and then after a certain amount you get a new one? I mean, people might go for that,
Right.
even though if you do the math on it, it probably, I'm sure it will come out that buying one and holding on to it for several years would be cheaper.
Right.
But that's a model I could see people going for. In the way that they also lease cars, it's like, I kind of want the new and the fresh every couple of years. So
Right.
I,
It could.
I
This
can
could be
I can
because of
see
their
that.
It could be because of their relationship. That created the Apple Card, right? It could be working on a similar-ish system, right, where you're financing it through a similar system as the Apple Card, and maybe when you do that, you
Yeah,
get some things with it, like TV Plus or News Plus, or maybe even the Apple One subscription. It's an interesting
yeah,
idea. We've definitely seen it before in various ways. Like I said, the Xbox thing, right?
right.
That that has existed for a couple of years now. So it's a semi-solid concept. It is always interesting when a hardware company gets into, like, directly into this kind of a thing, though. It's always like, oh, what are we up to here? Because normally financing is done third party, even if you do it, from the company's website or whatever. It's usually done third party. But this sounds
Yeah.
like it's going to be
It
direct, and I cannot wait for them to
it
announce
actually
this.
is. I mean, but this sounds like a lease, not. I mean, you could call it financing, but it sounds like it's a leasing program with the expectation that after a certain period of time, you're going to trade it in, get another one, and lease again, and not just keep the old one.
Right.
Uh, one thing you really don't see a lot of is, like, you go. I mean, laptops are not cheap. A good one anyway, right?
True.
You go onto, like, the Lenovo website and you want to buy yourself, like, a $1,500, $2,000 ThinkPad. They do not offer. What they have is, they have, like, I think there's a third party financing system, like
Right.
Klarna or something,
Right.
where you
Right.
can sign up with them. I don't know if Klarna is a good, trustworthy system to use. Obviously, another option is people to just keep a giant balance on their credit card, but that is the least desirable, because those rates are always the worst.
Right.
So,
Astronomical if you
it's,
blink your eyes too many times in one day.
yeah. I mean, those are not a fixed rate, right?
Hmm.
So it's, yeah. I mean, I think having something that makes it easier for people to pay for these large purchases is good. And for some folks, even though I'm sure the math won't be in their favor, they uh, they will want um, to do this just to keep getting fresh Apple
Right.
products.
Right. It all makes me think. There was a meme going around, I think, last week. A girl said she was talking to this guy on the bus. She really liked him. Then she saw that he had an iPhone 6, and she's like, "Ooh, no, that's not going to work." And her friend's like, "You were on a bus," which which kind of does, to some extent. We talked many years ago about the Apple customer mentality, and I mean, that plays into it perfectly. And this, I think, kind of takes advantage of kind of in everybody's favor ish. Thank you, chat. Takes advantage ish of that desire to want the latest Apple thing, not necessarily because you care, but because you care that other people see you with it. So we'll see. It's not official yet. This all comes from a report from somebody, Bloomberg. Their reports tend to be pretty solid on this stuff, though. There's a leaker inside Apple that knows somebody at Bloomberg, because they tend to get these early things pretty right. So my guess is we'll probably hear about this pretty soon. But until then, it's all conjecture. This week's Pilch Point with Abram Pilch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. To get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee, you can go to pilchpoint.live/PureVPN. Okay, so this is a topic that you and I, tonight, that you and I have both been following over the last couple of weeks, and it is fascinating, Abram.
Yes. So, as we all know, there is a war in Ukraine. Russia has invaded Ukraine, and that has made Russia a fairly unpopular country in America and much of the rest of the world. And one of the most popular antivirus programs is Kaspersky Antivirus. And many websites, including, we do not recommend antivirus apps on Tom's Hardware, but some of our sister sites, such as Tom's Guide, different site, do recommend antivirus, do have lists of the best antivirus, and many of them put Kaspersky at or near the top of their list before all of this. Now, Kaspersky claims that it is a global company, but the founder of the company, Eugene Kaspersky, is a Russian national who apparently was actually originally trained by the KGB. Now, of course, they're an international company. They claim that, while they have an office in Moscow, they have offices elsewhere. They do business with the Russian government, but they said we do business with other folks. And Kaspersky has been around for a long time. All of that being said, a couple of things have happened there have been a couple of very serious official warnings about using Kaspersky software. First one came from the German government, which advised all German citizens to uninstall any Kaspersky software. Then, just a couple of days ago, the FCC, and by the way, this was a revelation to me because I did not know the FCC had any say in this kind of thing. It's the Federal Communications Commission, so what does that have to do with antivirus? Came out and said that they consider Kaspersky to be a security risk, and that any company with a government contract cannot spend their government money on Kaspersky products, which is not the same as a ban or anything. However, you have the federal government saying we think this is a risky product. They have not, banned the sale of it or something, but they're saying they think this is a risky product. Now, obviously, Kaspersky denies the allegations, and really the allegations aren't based on a particular piece of evidence, which, by the way, reminds me a lot of what happened with Huawei and Huawei, and I believe also ZTE, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the U.S. government decided, hey, these companies are dangerous because they are associated with the Chinese government. They could spy on you, and we'd never know it because there could be some kind of backdoor for the Chinese government. So, we're banning the sale of these, and but they never gave an explanation. Now, it's a similar situation with Kaspersky. Nobody, not even the government, is actually saying we've found evidence that Kaspersky is spying on you or is planning to help Russia do a cyber attack or anything like that. But the fact that they have ties to the Russian government, are, arguably a Russian company, certainly started there and have a big office there, and the guy who's CEO and founder is, from there, um, makes it possible that the Russian government could come in and, demand access to the code and do something. So there's never been evidence of that happening in the past. But now that we are in a heightened state of conflict with Russia, it this is advice that people are giving. Now, on the flip side, this is a controversy. One of, as I said, one of our sister sites, Tom's Guide. Please do not confuse them with Tom's Hardware. We were both formed by the original Tom, but they are the Best Buy to our new egg. We are different sites with different staffs, but they sit near us. Anyway, they decided to keep, so far, Kaspersky Antivirus on their list of best antivirus. They moved it down from number 1, so it's not the top pick on the page. But they've decided to keep it on their list because they still think it's a good product, even though there are some security warnings about it. Now, I should also say that our parent company, Future, which owns both of our sites, has quote unquote demonetized Kaspersky, where a lot of things that we have on our sites have, affiliate links on them. And there were affiliate links on some of these sites to Kaspersky, and they've taken off the affiliate links. So if we're recommending Kaspersky, we are absolutely not getting any, compensation if people decide to click through and buy it or go look for it and buy it. But they're still recommending it. So, sitting near those folks, I talked to them, and they said, well, this is kind of our compromise position, because we don't think there's not enough proof for us to say that this is per se dangerous. We liked it. It was our favorite security software. And that is that. Now, my opinion on this is, and there's another angle to this too, which is that you may feel like in buying Kaspersky that you are doing business with a Russian company, although again, Kaspersky disputes that it is a quote unquote Russian company. And obviously there's a lot of appetite in the West not to be seen doing business with or giving money to Russian companies. But as for the more important security question, like if you have Kaspersky on your computer now, should you uninstall it? I don't know what to say. I feel like I would. But there's not really a good reason to say that, except that, there's not really any evidence, positive looking evidence to say that, except that, hey, antivirus software, security software has the most access to your computer's sensitive information, has very privileged access to your data, to your computer. So it is not impossible for, say, the Russian government to somehow, get its claws into this company that they are very close with, and may actually be able to force them, Kaspersky, to do its bidding, and then put some kind of backdoor in there, or some kind of malware in there, and use it for some kind of nefarious purpose. Now, if I, of course, am sitting here as an individual, what nefarious purpose can Russia, the country of Russia, do with my computer? Well, it could turn it into a bot. It could use it to spread viruses to other stuff. Even if I personally am not, a CIA agent or something, and don't have any like sensitive government information on my computer, which if I did, I wouldn't have Kaspersky on here, right? Because I would have some kind of lockdown government computer for it, right? But still, it can be dangerous to you. So out of an abundance of caution, I wouldn't run it. Also, by the way, there's the ultimate question, which is, how badly do you need a third-party antivirus that costs, $30, $40, $50, when you could, if you're using Windows, it comes with Windows, with antivirus built in, which, may not be quote unquote as good, but we certainly know where Microsoft is from. The federal government feels very comfortable giving contracts and working with Microsoft, and it's kind of a you never have to worry about it. So I don't know. What do you think, Scott? Do you feel like Windows built-in antivirus is good enough?
For a very long time, it's been kind of my personal only solution, but I'm also incredibly careful about the things that I do. Of course, we can all get tricked, all get hit by something, but I'm always extra cautious because, while I may not have government secrets on my computer, I do oftentimes have secrets, right? So I'm overly cautious. There's client stuff and whatever. So I'm always cautious. My interesting position on this is that my position hasn't changed. I have always been weary of Kaspersky. Because my take on Russia did not change 5 weeks ago. I have always felt that it was possible and probable that this former KGB agent who's running the country could possibly be in cahoots with this former KGB trained asset who runs a security company. So my take on it hasn't changed. I've always recommended against it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like kind of a waste of money. And then a lot of the things that people get for having their Kaspersky, for having the higher packages, are things like, a more secure browser, or, all kinds of things to kind of protect you from phishing, or
Sure.
Backup software, which you can get elsewhere. So, I mean, but whether putting aside the question of whether or not you need to spend the extra money on an antivirus package or a third-party security package on top of what comes free with Windows, this is one you don't need. And honestly, the security business has to be a reputation business, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if you can't trust, if there's an iota of doubt about it, then I think it would be very wise not to do it. And I think that's what all the governments are saying, is like, we don't know for sure what is going on here, but we know But we know that there's
we know that there's been cyber attacks that have come from within Russia towards the U.S., including to our critical infrastructure. We know that there have been other computer-based attacks towards the West, all coming out of Russia, why wouldn't they do the easy one? Because those were all way more complicated than, government pressure in a already kind of scary country on one or more of the citizens, and it doesn't have to be the founder, right? You don't know that there's not a Putin stooge somewhere inside the company that's unrelated, and Kaspersky himself may not even know that it's happening.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because that's the environment we're in right now.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I hope there's not a Putin stooge inside of other software companies that we're not as suspicious of, right? But yeah, I mean, there's, PC Mag had an article up saying, hey, by Neil Rubenking, J. Rubenking, dated March 16th, where he says that, hey, Google would catch, or somebody else would catch hidden malware, like Google Project Zero would catch it if there was some kind of hidden malware in Kaspersky. I don't know. I mean,
but even
by the time you caught it,
there you go. Even if you did, it would already be in the wild.
Right. So by the time you caught it, it was too late. So, I mean, sorry, you just can't. I mean, is it guilt by association? I don't know. But
possibly.
But, maybe we should. I'm sorry, maybe we shouldn't trust someone who's associated with the KGB to be providing our security at this time.
Right. Absolutely. There's enough chaos surrounding what's happening over there. And not just what's happening there, but what's happening from there, right? It's a spider web of weird that's coming out of this conflict. And there have been, I mean, the idea that the guy who has threatened nuclear and chemical attacks on Ukraine, on the West, on NATO, the idea that he wouldn't go, hey, can you put a couple lines of code in to do this? We saw a NuGet package. This would have been one of our topics last week. We saw a NuGet package get updated by somebody outside of Russia, that if it ran within the borders of Russia or Belarus, it started one directory up and started deleting files until it didn't have permissions anymore. Just on random people because they happen to be in Russia. When it comes to the computer aspect of this conflict, it's getting weird. And it's getting weirder every week. So the idea that, two former KGB guys might work together to essentially spread malware across the world, yeah, totally possible. It's the least weird possibility when it comes to things that plug in this conflict.
Yeah, I mean, it would be suicide for his business.
Of course it would. But not doing what Putin says can be suicide for you.
Yeah, that's true, right? It would be suicide for his business. Maybe he takes some money and runs. I don't know, but we can't count on that to protect us. So, yeah, I would not install the software. If I had it installed, I would uninstall it. That's my 2 cents in this matter.
Yeah, mine as well. Mine was that 6 months ago and 2 years ago, and
yeah, I mean there you go. So there you have it. Some controversy there, but if you go with what multiple world governments are saying,
right,
you should probably agree with us.
Yeah. And if the US and Germany are coming together on something like this, we're looking at something you almost certainly should be listening to, because the US and Germany almost never agree on global positioning. Right. So if the US and Germany are both going, hey, I don't know about this, there might be something happening behind the scenes that we don't know about.
to be clear, I'm not nearly, perhaps wrongly so, I'm not nearly as sold on the Huawei ban, right? Like they never provided any any evidence for that. We are not in the same kind of, I mean, relations between U.S. and China can be fraught, but they're not in the same place. And so much of our stuff is made in China that it's kind of hard to say like just going to stop using electronics that are from Chinese companies. So, I'm not totally sold on that.
In fairness, the Huawei and ZTE ban existed under both a Democrat and a Republican president, which has always suggested to me that there was something behind the scenes that they weren't talking about. The phones were banned for government purchase and use in a government building under Obama, and Trump just added infrastructure hardware to the ban, which suggests to me that there's probably something outside of our view that was known or believed. Because, again, for Obama and Trump to have agreed on something, it's even crazier than the idea of the U.S. and Germany agreeing on foreign policy.
Right. Fair enough.
That's always been my position on that. If those two both agreed on something like that, that makes me a little queasy. But again, like you said, no evidence was provided for ZTE. No evidence was ever provided for Huawei. No evidence has ever been provided for this. But they all make my stomach do a similar thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of okay. That's okay enough.
Yep.
So, this isn't exactly Tom's Hardware's space, but have you guys done anything on this topic?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a couple of articles about the news of this, but I figure it was a good topic to discuss because there seems to be some controversy around it, although the answer seems pretty clear to me. And public service announcement, I recommend uninstalling it.
Agreed. So, where can people go to find your news and, of course, all the other stuff?
Tom'sHardware.com, of course, and at Tom's Hardware on Twitter.
Fantastic. Well, great conversation. A very different topic than we usually do in the Pilch Point. Kind of almost back to the old days before you came on as the permanent co-host of F5 Live. And I really enjoyed this because it's a weird thing that, most people don't think about, right? We live in this space. We see the little oddities all the time, and you think, oh, well, that's from where? Ooh, that's interesting. But most people don't think about where things come from, or oh, it came pre-installed on my computer. Maybe, I don't know if they do that, but people don't think about that. So it's an interesting topic, and like you said, there's a lot of controversy around it right now. I don't mind putting my stamp on that position because I've been saying it for a couple of years. But yeah, I appreciate it. It was a good topic, and I always appreciate it. And I look forward to what we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features like dual mics, ultra-low latency, into their headset so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC, plus they won't break the bank. To learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions that are going on, you can go to f5live.tv/exa. I have been messing around with a set myself lately, and so far, really liking them. Anyway, Netflix games. Netflix has gotten really, really into gaming in the last 4 or 5 months in particular. They've had, some presence in the space. There have been some licensed games before that. They announced in 2020 that they were going to get into the gaming space. We saw the Stranger Things mobile game. I think it came to consoles shortly after. But it was last year, the end of last year, where they really started to go. Through your Netflix subscription, you could get access to certain mobile games. In particular, again, it was the Stranger Things games that were available. There were also a couple of... there was a basketball game, I think it was called Shooting Hoops. There was another something, I don't remember what it was, maybe a bowling game and something else. But it was mostly the Stranger Things games. Since then, they've added additional games to the lineup. It works very similar to Apple Arcade or Google Play. What's it called? Google Play something? Pass. Google Play Pass, where for a certain amount per month, you get access to a bunch of games with all the content unlocked. In this case, it's already included in your Netflix subscription. This week, though, the company bought their third studio. So they already had two. This week, they picked up a studio called Boss Fight Entertainment. They have a game that, interestingly, I see ads for in another game that I play all the time. It's called Dungeon Boss. Pretty successful game in the strategy RPG mobile game category. My guess is that we will see it come to Netflix games soon, if it's not already there. I haven't looked today, but my guess is we'll see it come to the platform pretty soon with all the content unlocked. I think it shows that it's that the company is really serious about this. What do you think, Abram?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously they want to expand. Netflix wants to expand its horizons, so it's got to do more to get into the gaming space if it really wants to compete with with other services. Now, interestingly, when you think about it, I was talking with some of my coworkers this week, and the consensus seemed to be that Xbox Game Pass is the only Xbox is the only viable game streaming service right now.
Until Spartacus is announced this week.
Yes, I guess until that. But they don't seem to think that Google's service or Nvidia GeForce Now are, even though both are still in business, are serious players.
Yeah. The thing that separates this one from those, right, is that you probably already have it. Which I think is a little different. It's kind of like how we talk about in the Prime promo that you already have Prime, so why not use Amazon Music and Prime Gaming and whatever. This is kind of the same thing in my book. You've already got Netflix. Almost certainly. If you're listening to this show, almost certainly you've already got Netflix. So this is just already part of it. Enjoy it.
Yeah, interestingly, there was, speaking of games, and I don't know if this was resultant from any of their investment in gaming. Perhaps you do. Netflix has added some interactive, programming.
They've gone into that a lot more.
So the other day, my son and I went through all the possibilities on this thing called, what's it called? Cat Burglar. Was a cartoon, and
that's a new one to me. That's a new one to me.
Yeah, and really, really fun. What it is the cat. There's a cat trying to like steal a painting from a museum, and there's like a dog security guard that's trying to stop him, and there's like 6 or 7 points in the thing, and you don't have a choice. It's not like you get a choice of things. There's like trivia questions that you have to answer using your remote control, and if you
Oh,
don't answer the trivia questions, then basically your cat, I wouldn't say dies, loses,
sure.
and you have to start over again. And you can keep, but even if you play it over and over again, like the content changes, not just the questions, but like
Okay.
how the dog is chasing the cat around. And there's like, and then each time you win, you like get a new painting on your wall. And there's
Oh,
like, so I had to play that thing for like it's not like, one of those AAA games that you're going to play for, 50 hours, but
sure.
we had a good like solid hour or 2 hours of fun with that thing, like going through it and like playing the trivia stuff. And it is the thing that really got me about it, which is, I guess, different from the game aspect of it, is that it looks and feels and sounds like the way it was animated, the way it was, the music that they used, whatever, just like a 1950s Warner Brothers cartoon.
Oh,
Like
cool.
it looks a lot. It looks a lot like a Tom and Jerry, cartoon. I don't know. Was Tom and Jerry Warner Brothers? It looks a lot like like an old fashioned Tom and Jerry cartoon.
Okay. That's
So
okay. Um, so Netflix has been doing the interactive content for a while. Their first one was in 2018. It was Black Mirror Bandersnatch. Since then, they've done a number of interactive titles. Probably the most prominent was Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Kimmy versus the Reverend, I think was the name of it. After the series was over, they went back and did another episode that was all interactive. That was a ton of fun, and I did the same thing. It was a little bit more of a choose your own adventure type story versus trivia that got you things at the end. It's just you could go different ways through the story, which was interesting, and Bandersnatch was fairly similar, but those were pretty early. I'm not surprised that having people in house that work for the company who are experts in game theory would not take that concept and expand on it. So yeah, I mean that
yeah,
totally makes sense.
I actually don't know if there's an easy way to see all the interactive titles on Netflix, but I just happened to do a little search, and like, so Cat Burglar is labeled as trivia, and I think they have another trivia game that is either out or coming out. But then they have like other interactive things, like there's a Captain Underpants one, and a Puss in Boots one, and Carmen Sandiego one, and a Boss Baby one.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Animals on the loose.
so yes, so those are
Oh,
labeled as interactive,
uh-oh. You ready?
but
Minecraft
yeah,
story mode interactive.
yes. Oh, I know all about that.
Okay.
Uh, that what they did is they had that actually was, see, the interesting thing is that actually was or is a game that existed outside of Netflix,
Was.
and they seem to have
Yes. Story mode
licensed it.
was story mode was done by the company that did all of the episodic games that just went out of business. Whose name it has bloop left my head. So here we are. I
So
can't
we
help now.
actually, my son actually played that on his PlayStation
Okay.
already, although I showed it to him on Netflix, and then I think he also tried it there. And the other day we were scrolling through Netflix. He's like, "Oh, I got to play that." Telltale, apparently.
That's it.
Um, I get from the chat, but
Thank you, chat.
but anyway, yeah. So they are, turning the entertainment into a game.
Mm-hmm.
So that is uh, okay. That's nice. Uh, I did the choose your own adventure style. The choose your own adventure style episodes, I don't know. I found not as fun, but like
Sure.
when you had to do the trivia thing, that really got me. But anyway, yeah, sure, Netflix has to get into this. Besides, Netflix is, uh, as you reported last week, Netflix is trying to make it harder to share your password.
Right.
Netflix recently raised its rates, so ergo, they better start bringing some stuff, because spending $200 million on movies that people don't care that much about isn't really
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean,
And we talk all the time about how many video streaming services there are. I know this is the gaming section, but we talk about how many video streaming services they are and how they're all trying to figure out how to differentiate themselves from each other. And this is one way to do it.
yeah, I mean, to be honest, a lot of, I mean, I guess I'll be keeping Netflix for a while, but it's not the streaming service that I use. It's not the streaming service that I use the most by any stretch of the imagination. Uh, I mean, I guess my wife uses a bit. I mean, I guess we end up watching at least a couple things a month, but by far now I'm using like three or four other services before, much more than Netflix. It so yeah, I mean, I've used HBO Max a lot more. Of course, this is just me personally, but I've really gotten into BritBox now and using BritBox like every single day.
Yeah.
Prime Video. So yeah, I don't. They got to do stuff to make themselves ubiquitous, because also they just keep losing the license to good stuff, right? I
Right.
mean, didn't they just lose all? Didn't they just lose all the Star Treks? I think
Uh-huh.
so.
Yep. I think there's one piece of something left that I think expires at the end of this month. And then CBS All. Nope. Paramount Plus. Time traveled there for a second. CBS All Access. Paramount Plus will be the ultimate home for all Star Trek.
Yep.
So, and I guess, I mean, completely unrelated, for those things that are British that you want to watch that aren't on BritBox, you might be surprised that you might find it on Prime Video, because I found several of my shows over on Prime Video.
Yes.
I was shocked by it.
Same.
Channel 4 and
Same.
Channel 4 and Dave stuff. I was shocked to find over on
There was some stuff on Prime, and Prime, of course, it has one thing over BritBox unless you subscribe to BritBox via Prime, which is that the BritBox app doesn't do downloading. So, but between my mother and me, we are watching a ton of British mysteries. So I have now also subscribed to Acorn TV, which is another streaming service that has some different shows than BritBox does, and also has some Australian shows too. So anyway,
I think what you're saying is
there, but
we're going to have to go through and do a roundup of all of the PLUGHITZ live team and the services that we use and
Yes.
rank them as our favorite to least.
yes,
Oh, that'll be a ton of fun.
I very well could do that.
That'll be a ton of fun.
Yep.
Yeah, we should definitely do that. But anyway, Netflix, gaming, like, I have a feeling that this is two-prong. The first is bringing more games and more game engineers. 130 employees of this studio that they just picked up. So my guess is that, they're trying to enhance their game catalog, which, by the way, since November of last year when we first talked about this and there were like 4 titles, I have to do at least 3 full screen swipes to see all the games that are available today. So they've added a ton of stuff since last we talked about this. But you're right. It could have to do also with making the interactive content for the platform, because, game theory added into content really does turn into some fun stuff. I enjoyed the Kimmy Schmidt, Kimmy versus the Reverend almost as much as a regular episode. I know it should theoretically be better, but It wasn't. But it was one last hurrah in the storyline, which I appreciated. But yeah, it's probably a little bit to do with all of that. This week's news from the tubes and F5 Live is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, and it blocks traditional threats like worms and dialers and spyware and a whole bunch more. It allows you to use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. To learn more and get a special price, go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. See, way different than Kaspersky. Anyway, and this isn't, by the way, why I didn't recommend Kaspersky before. Anyway, we get to talk about messaging again. It seems like a topic that never goes away for us. There's always some interesting thing happening in the messaging space, and by interesting, we usually mean tedious. In this case, something interesting is happening, and interesting doesn't mean good. The European Union and European Parliament have come to an agreement on what they are calling the Digital Markets Act, which has a lot of things. But the thing that I find the most interesting, and again, interesting doesn't mean good, is this provision about interoperability in messaging. The reason why there's multiple messaging platforms, right? We talk about this a lot. The reason why there's multiple is because, one company will do one interesting thing. How different are Facebook Messenger and Apple iMessage? Just barely. The difference is negligible, but I can't send from an Apple Watch my heartbeat over Facebook Messenger. It's a dumb feature, but it works on iMessage, right? Each one has its own little weird things. Special games that only work on one platform versus another, all that kind of stuff. If the Digital Markets Act goes through, the messaging platforms are going to have interoperability. You'll have to be able to send a message from Facebook Messenger to Apple iMessage to WhatsApp, which I think already happens, but Apple Messenger to WhatsApp, to Signal, to Telegram, to, I don't know. What else is included in this? Because the information that's out there is a little vague on exactly what it would apply to. Would it apply to Slack? Maybe, because that's a completely closed ecosystem. But would it apply to Discord? Probably. The lines are weird. The rules are strange. It seems like it would be real difficult for a messaging platform to differentiate itself. If you're old enough to remember when Yahoo Messenger and MSN Messenger were able to message back and forth, they, at the time, were able to differentiate themselves by having their own chat rooms. You could message back and forth, but other features were unique. That doesn't look like it's going to be an option here. I think from our discussions inside, we think there's a line of demarcation, and it's at the network. Anything local to the device would be able to be handled and customized by the platform. So if Snapchat, which may or may not be part of this, wants to put filters and cutesy things on photos before you send them and or videos while you're doing live chat, they could, because that's done at the device level, and then the altered images are sent over the unified platform. But it's not like a browser, right? Where you can put all kinds of stuff that's custom into the browser. Chrome and Edge use the same rendering engine, and they are very different browsers.
Yeah.
This is different than that.
I think I get what they're trying to do, because this is a consumer unfriendly situation. Like they're trying to do it for business I mean, it also is a startup unfriendly situation. But on the other hand, that's true of any service that has membership, right?
Right.
Like there's always a first mover advantage to membership. So, and
Although, like we just
I
talked
think
about,
there's
Netflix isn't your go-to streaming service anymore.
right.
So it
Yeah,
can change
right,
over time.
exactly.
It can change over
And
time.
we've seen it, and we've seen it happen again and again in the messaging
Yeah.
space, and not for reasons of serious innovation either.
Right. Because
But
where are AOL, Yahoo, and MSN today? Nowhere.
right, and they were a big deal. Where's ICQ?
Right.
So
It went to
the
AOL.
my first messenger was ICQ,
Mine
and then
too.
for a while I was on AOL, and then for a while it was like
Which,
it
by the way,
was,
those two were interoperable for a long time.
yeah. And then for a while I was on, I forget after that. I don't think I ever really used MSN a lot. I think I had it running, but didn't really have anybody on there. But what's annoying is when you've got multiple different ways. I mean, to be honest, email is kind of a miraculous thing when I think about it. You have one system that works for everybody, and I feel like if somebody proposed creating email today, it wouldn't happen because there would be companies that would want to lock people in and like, no, I don't want people from Facebook being able to email people from Twitter. I don't want people from my ISP being able to email people from another. So,
It's a fascinating
open
point.
open standards are just generally good for the using public, which is why, by the way, I would love to see that happen with social networking. Or rather, we had that. It was called Usenet
Right.
news groups, right? I mean, I don't think you can you even get those today? That was a
I don't think so.
problematic because nobody moderated it, I think, but a completely non it wasn't tied to a particular business,
Right.
right?
After Google bought the Usenet search engine, that kind of brought it to its knees.
Yeah. But like when I was first getting on the internet, like that was a big deal. Usenet,
Yeah.
that was Usenet news groups were a huge deal. So anyway, it is a very unfriendly situation.
Interestingly, Usenet news groups were so similar to what Discord is today, except that Discord is owned by somebody. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's more like Reddit. You don't think so?
Similar, except that the Discord literally can have disconnected servers that run the individual conversations, as opposed to Reddit, which literally all runs in house.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just thinking about like the experience of using.
Yeah, the experience
like
is pretty Reddit-y, but the infrastructure, the semi decentralization of it is very Discord-y. And I think a lot of the people who today would have been on Usenet are probably on Discord.
Right. So anyway, but on the other hand, we don't want to stifle innovation, and we don't want to like force things that you want to be a closed system to communicate with each other. Like, I mean, for example, I think of Slack as like, Slack is my thing for communicating with my coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want Slack to be getting messages from any fool on the internet like I get
from
with
text.
Email. Yeah. Now, but on the other hand, it is very annoying that there's people who have iMessage, and I'm not on Apple, so I can't communicate with them. There's Facebook, and frankly, I use Facebook to message people a lot, but maybe I don't want to be associated with Facebook to be able to message those people, right? Then there's Google Chat, and there's just so many different instant messaging is just nuts because there's so many different things, and there's like, depending on who I want to talk to, there's a different way that I might need to message them.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd like to see, I think we need to support innovation, and I don't know if the government can go in and fix this problem, the government being the EU government, but this is a very consumer unfriendly situation because it does result in lock-in. Like oh, I can't really leave Facebook because I got to message people there. I
Hmm.
can't really switch from Apple to Android because I can't message my people on Apple anymore. So
I mean, you can still send a
would it
text
be
message.
yes? So maybe what we really need to do is kind of standardize on SMS or MMS as the universal platform,
Maybe. And
and
you,
have all these messengers support it. Like,
right.
could you be able
Sure.
to send somebody on iMessage and SMS? Like,
Yes.
I think that
That's
would be useful. Like,
that's the difference between green bubbles and blue bubbles is text versus iMessage.
right, but you still have to have that person's phone number, and I
Phone
guess
number.
iMessage. If you iMessage someone, do you need to have their phone number?
Absolutely. It's all done via phone.
Okay, so it
It
doesn't.
just all it
Uh,
does is it bypasses SMS and MMS and goes over the internet instead of over those protocols.
all right. So I don't know if that is as big a deal as like other things, like where it's all virtual. You might have people that you communicate with on Facebook. You don't even have their phone number,
Mm-hmm.
um, or on WhatsApp or whatever. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it would be nice if you could create, if there could be more ways for folks to sort of cross
Yeah.
communicate.
So
Um,
if they were to keep this real tight, right, just around messaging, okay, then I can probably get behind it. The idea of trying to make interoperability, have some central maybe repository, a group like the W3C that oversees the protocol for text and media messaging. Okay. The problem is that you've got, interesting things. Maybe even audio and video chat get thrown in there. I don't know. I'm a little shaky on that. But you've got things like games, right? Do you have the ability to limit games to your platform, or can you not sign a deal on exclusivity on a mobile game inside a messaging app anymore? Does that have to be fully interoperable as well? It's all about where that line of demarcation is. If we're saying text, media, and live are regulated, and you can do custom stuff between members of a platform, on top of that, okay, I'm willing to have a conversation. But if it has to be or non-unique experience, you know, this WhatsApp has wallpapers. Does iMessage have to have wallpapers? Right? Or is that
no, I
something
mean
is that
that
something that's
doesn't that
allowed to
doesn't
differentiate WhatsApp? So it's
that
all about
doesn't
where
make
they draw that line of demarcation.
that doesn't make sense. It should probably just be one of those things where, like, for example, I think this is still the case, but I haven't really done this in years. But I think you can send someone an email on certain, like, you can send an email to someone's phone number. I
Yes,
think it used to be on Verizon or something like that. You could, like,
all of them
put their phone number
at
uh,
tmobileusa.com.
or something like that and send an
Mm-hmm.
email. So that's like a weird thing, but that your phone suddenly has an email, but very few people use.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of universal. Like, all of a sudden, your phone is hooked into the world of email, even though, I mean, you get email through Gmail or whatever, but like your phone is now has email, right? So, like, I think, but it's, not necessarily like great email. I think the thing is, there ought to be MMS, and MMS is a standard. I think if we could just unite around something like MMS, and you can send people stuff that meets the standards of MMS, but then if you want something more than that, special features, more than that, then that has to go. That's not part of the protocol, and you get benefits for being in the in that network. And of course, it should only apply to things that are pure, like pure messaging plays or whatever. Like, if it's supposed to be a closed system, like a channel in Slack or a channel
Right.
in Discord or whatever, that's just weird. I don't think people
Yeah.
want to be getting
I agree.
stuff on their Slack
And
from anywhere on the internet.
and that's the question, right? How wide is this going to be? Where's our line of demarcation? Those are all the things that are a little nebulous right now because the full white paper hasn't been published on what they're planning, because it's just an agreement at this point between the Parliament and the EU, maybe just the EU. I don't know, but once that white paper, once that the full rules are published, I'm going to be diving into this because it's an interesting pitch. It's trying to solve a problem. I pitched this around to a lot of people on and off the PLUGHITZ live team today. Some of the smartest people that you and I know, right? And they were like, I don't understand. Right. Which is where that idea of that line of demarcation really came in, was from those conversations on, we need to know where that line is, because that's going to determine whether or not we all go, oh, okay, or absolutely not. Right? That's the thing. So hopefully we'll be seeing this shortly. With the EU, you never know. They announced that they're going to file an antitrust suit, and they don't do it for a year and a half. So, we never quite know when it comes to the European Parliament exactly when we'll hear things. But for right now, we're a little bit in limbo. It's an interesting concept that has the possibility of being implemented horribly depending on what they do, and we will absolutely be keeping an eye on this one. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. You get free shipping with Prime, but you get a whole lot more. Free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games and a free Twitch subscription with Amazon Prime Gaming, and of course, a lot more. We've got a 30-day free trial, links to these features and more, the ability to give it as a gift. And all of that can be found by going to f5live.tv/prime. We talked about content a little while ago, just to keep everything on our toes tonight. We talked about Netflix under gaming. Now we're going to talk about YouTube. Something interesting happened this week. YouTube announced that they were releasing several thousand TV episodes and movies for free on YouTube. The end. An interesting move. We've seen other companies get into this, totally ad-supported, free licensed content space. Interestingly, some of the content is overlap, which is interesting. You've got Tubi, you've got IMDb TV, you've got Pluto TV, you've got the Roku channel. There's several of these.
Isn't there Shout as well, or Shout TV, something like that? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, there's a number
Roku
of these
channel.
out there. They all seem to take a similar tact. Free content, generally older licensed stuff, totally ad supported, and you get to watch. Hooray! The benefit, of course, of YouTube is that you're probably already there. If you're like most of us, you're already on YouTube, so that helps. I don't know exactly what they're up to here. It would seem like maybe they're trying to get people to stay on the site longer, on the platform longer. I don't know. Perhaps they're trying to experiment with, combating the subscription fatigue that we talk about a lot, which we've already talked about once tonight. I don't know. It's interesting. I know Avram and I were both looking through the content before the show.
Yeah, there's
some interesting stuff
through. it's not easy to find, I have to say, because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like, it's easy to find to browse, but I don't see like a dedicated search for it.
Yeah,
It
I
doesn't
haven't seen it
seem like
either.
you can do a dedicated search of just the free movies.
Yeah.
So, and it's just the only thing I see is browse. So it's like you don't really
Mm-hmm.
have a easy way to just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like look for the horror movies on here or
Right. So if
whatever.
you're so if you're watching or listening and you want to follow along, if you go to YouTube, either on the app or the website, on the main menu, if you scroll down below your subscriptions, you will see the YouTube Premium link and then the movies and shows. If you go to that, then you'll see there is a row for free to watch movies and one for free to watch shows. So that's how you can follow along with us. Anyway, uh, continue.
Right. So I'm looking through. So I looked through this, and actually, I got to the bottom. So I'm
Did you?
actually, yeah. How many is that? Let's see. I can do this. So 360. What I'm seeing right now is exactly 360 movies on here that are that are
Me too.
listed on the browsable.
Because
So
you search for free with ads.
exactly, that's exactly what I did to count. I did not sit here and count them all.
Oh, that's funny.
Uh,
Because that was my first thought. I'm like, ooh, you could search for free with ads.
yeah. Well, no, no, no. I went to the browse thing, and
Yeah.
then like on the browse page, I just did a Control
Did a
F to
Control
search
F.
that page.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to scroll a long way to get it all to load. But so, look, there's a few decent things on here. There's Weird Al's UHF movie, if you haven't
Really?
seen it. Yes.
Okay.
Robin Hood Men in Tights, but not any of the other Mel Brooks movies uh, that, in my opinion, are better. Uh, and then there's just like a lot of movies on here that are like you would find in like the $3 DVD bin at Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, just things that like we used to call straight to tape movies.
Yeah.
Like
The
some movie
Slammin'
with Bruce
Salmon.
Willis. You know, Aaron Paul of Breaking Bad in some kind of action movie. Oh, Sniper Special Ops, a Steven Seagal movie. There you
Oh.
go.
Well, I mean, that one was straight to the bin. Anyway.
Yes. Yes. But you also find here some things. I'd never heard of a movie called Legally Blondes.
Right? I saw that one. I'm like, oh, that's one that I wasn't aware of. There are several
Yes.
Godzilla movies on here.
Now that I will say folks should consider. They have
Like,
Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
oh, really? I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
I'm seeing
See, that's the
Godzilla
thing. You can't really
versus
say.
Hedorah, Godzilla versus Gigan.
So there's 5 movies with Godzilla in the title. Godzilla versus Gigan, another great one. Gigan is the best. Uh, Godzilla King of the Monsters, which you should not watch because that is the American first Godzilla, which has Raymond Burr like photoshopped into it, basically. But there's Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, Godzilla versus Gigan, which is a great one. Godzilla versus Hedorah, which is kind of weird because that's a smog monster. But here's the thing, right? Uh, yeah, it seems that that's all they got out of the 360 movies. But this calls attention to what you said before. Tubi, IMDb TV, was it, I think, Shout TV. Oh, and something I discovered in the last 2 weeks, which perhaps you already knew. If you have a Roku box, or like me now, a Roku TV, there is an
The Roku
app called
channel.
Live TV.
Oh, yeah.
There's an app
The
called Live TV.
live TV. It's going to be in I almost talked about this. The new Roku 11 OS is going to make it like front and center too.
It is front and center on my TCL TV,
Okay.
which I just got like a month and a half, 2 months ago, and If we just discovered it, although we just discovered it like 2 months ago, because I thought live TV meant it was just going to go to the antenna, right? What, why is your face frozen? Did you see something interesting?
Because I wanted to see what the Godzilla offerings were on Tubi.
Yeah,
I know we're
there's a
talking
lot.
about YouTube, but ooh,
Right. See, so I guess here's a public service announcement to our audience. Like, there's a lot of free streaming stuff on there, and if there's a movie that you want to see that's not a brand spanking new movie, there's a decent chance, or a show, there's a decent chance that it may be on one of these free platforms.
yeah,
So, uh, like, I really got into, like, a couple of years ago. No, no shame here in what we like to watch. I really got into watching both seasons of Space 1999, and like that, it was free on Tubi, and I think is it Shout or whatever. You could watch, at least at the time, every episode for free. So like, there's a lot of stuff that you can watch for free. So I recommend to folks, like, before you go and try and rent something, particularly if you're like me and you have kids and you want to show them something, like,
yeah.
oh yeah, saw that movie when I was a kid. Let me see. Now, I also have lots of paid streaming channels, and I check all of those too. Every now and again, it happens that there's like a movie that I really want to show my son or whatever, and it's an older movie, and we have to pay like $3 to rent it off of Prime Video, and I always feels like a defeat, because it's like I'm sure there's some place I can watch this for free. So anyway,
Not the
yeah,
top,
this is
not the
okay.
not the topic at hand, but Tubi has a bunch of the riff track stuff on it.
Yeah. But relevant to the topic at hand is that YouTube is actually not very competitive here. It only has 360 titles. So
Right.
compared to IMDb TV or Tubi, this is a very paltry offering. And I bet if somebody were to bother, they would probably find all of these movies somewhere else for free.
Yeah, that
Is
was what I was doing when I came over to Tubi. Was I wanted to start comparing down the list and see if there were any items that were unique to YouTube. And then I was surprised by how many Godzilla movies were on Tubi. And then the very bottom thing was, I don't know why, was the riff tracks of Santa and the Ice Cream Bunny, and that took me down a whole different path.
So this poses to me just one quick interesting question. Do you think that this is happening because the cost of licensing the content has gotten cheaper to the point where it makes sense for these companies to do a free service because they're getting the content so cheaply? Maybe the licensors, the actual publishers, the studios or whatever, are maybe they're just willing to take a cut of ads. Maybe they don't actually have to pay out up front.
That's what I was going to say. I wonder if it's done on consignment.
Yeah. I mean, then they really have nothing to lose.
Right.
Whereas, Netflix or who are, spending $100 million on Friends, right? Like they, like they don't know whether that $100 million that they spend on that actually results in any revenue whatsoever.
Right.
Like,
Because the
would people
numbers
have
are hard to
unsubscribed
explain.
I mean, if somebody watched something on Netflix, how do you know they would have unsubscribed if it wasn't there?
Exactly.
But here, like, if I watch, grumpy old men and they make a penny on it. I mean, one thing that we've learned, I think, from Spotify is how
That's what I was just thinking.
content can become so cheap. Like, stuff that we think of as like expensive stuff, like valuable expensive stuff, like we used to pay $15 for that album or whatever. We keep hearing about all of these like major artists that are on Spotify and are really upset because they're getting like a really lame check every month from Spotify. So like the value of music has gone down. Maybe the value of movies has too.
Certainly for older, licensed stuff or small budget projects like riff tracks, right? Perhaps the idea of doing it on consignment or a share of the ad revenue makes sense for everybody involved because what have they got to lose?
Yeah, I mean, if Weird Al gets like a dime from people watching, a dime a month from people watching UHF on here, it's a dime he didn't have.
One of the things they're going to need to deal with if they want this to really take off is the idea of only having one movie in the middle of a series. For example, I see they only have the third Inuyasha movie.
Right. You see, because it's probably the one that they
nobody cares to license.
That nobody cares to license. I'm sure as a consumer, you're probably looking at this like, where's the logic to this list? Like, oh, I'm sure these are movies that have been identified as not making any money right now for the studio.
Right.
And they're like, okay.
Like Hackers. When was the last time Hackers generated any money anywhere other than maybe on TBS?
Right. Oh, what a horrible movie. But,
one of my all-time favorites because of how bad it is.
Sorry. It's
it's because of how bad it is. Look, I'm hacking.
Yes. I mean, there have been others, but
I'm spinning in circles in a phone booth. That must mean that I'm hacking.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw that when it was in the theater, and man, I did not like it. But anyway, yeah. So there's a handful of things on here. It obviously means that there's just yet another spot in the cheap, free content space.
Mm-hmm.
Good, but I don't think it's very competitive. It's a very competitive offering right now. But hey, if you find one movie that you're interested in watching and you spend 2 hours watching it, then it was worth your time.
Yeah, then it was massively competitive for you.
Right.
So fantastic. If this is the place where the one weird thing is that you want to watch, awesome. So
yeah.
But we're seeing more and more of this. Even the paid services, we're seeing ad supported stuff. Disney Plus has an ad supported tier coming soon. Hulu obviously has always had it. They started entirely this model. They started free with ad support, but that wasn't long term viable. But we're seeing more and more of this. We named a couple. You introduced me to one that I wasn't aware of already tonight. It's you never know what strange thing or where you might find stuff.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of putting together a roundup of the services that we use. I also want to see if I can find the same-ish movie across multiple platforms and do a comparison of how many ads you see, how laden it is with ads.
Google's, yeah, if you do that, though, make sure you do it on both mobile and desktop.
Yeah, true.
It's possible that it will be different.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I want to do a big comparison of the free services and see what comes out of it because, like we said, there's a lot of content that you can find out there for free on some of these services you may not have known existed. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. Obviously, if you noticed that we had some interaction in the chat room tonight, thank you for reminding us of the name of Telltale. If you would like to join us in the chat in the future, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, you can go to f5live.tv/join us, chat with us, tell us the name of companies that have completely escaped our brains. If you can't join us live, that is also okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe. You'll see all of our shows and all of the places that you can watch, listen, and follow along. A reminder that we are doing our audience survey right now. PLUGHITZlive.com/audience or f5live.tv/audience. It takes about 60 seconds, and we're going to do 2 CES prize packages. Don't know exactly what'll be in them, but bags and shirts and all kinds of stuff. We're going to see if some of our partners will throw in too. So definitely check that out. It'll be available sometime after midnight tonight and run through the end of April. So with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Abram.
And we will see you back next time. Ciao.